The world is not designed for any human who's not confident.
Hi, I'm Payal, and today on Design Etc., I'm in conversation with Priyanka Bhattacharya. Hi, Priyanka.
Hi, Payal.
Priyanka, media also tells us stories about disability. What stories are never told?
Just the pure joy of motherhood or parenthood.
What does it mean to design a life around this?
Routine is like any mother. All mothers are like army generals, managing the day, starting cut, 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 cut.
We usually hear the word normal.
When you look at humans, if you're A, then you're B. If you are special, then you're ordinary.
Designers, leaders, policymakers, they talk about inclusion constantly. What do they still fundamentally not understand?
You can't go to the mountain unless you take certain steps.
Is the problem really accessibility, or is it that we simply lack the imagination?
So I think the most important thing is
So nice to speak to you. We know each other since many years, since our Ogilvy days.
yes.
I've seen your journey a little bit. You started off as an art director. We worked together in Ogilvy. Then you moved into the PR world. You managed big celebrities. From there, we met, I guess, in New York, and you were doing your residency. And you also went on to become an accomplished artist. So tell me, after that, I guess once you were back home, you had your kids, you had Zozo, and life took a turn for you, because I do remember you as this crazy, almost carefree person, always like having fun. I'm sure you're having fun now as well. But how has life changed for you?
Everything. The only one thing, thankfully, has not changed is the positive go-getter Pring who I have been, and I'm so blessed that that stays intact and has has just multiplied in so many levels. But otherwise, it's very different. It's very different in a way that I did not know that I had these powers within me, not just patience, but just becoming a mother is another game altogether. And then mother of special need kids makes you very assertive, very aggressive, very firm in your decision making, very calculative, but emotional-less sometimes, like doctors. But at the same time, like you need to hold your emotions in so many ways, and you have to have this firm face, like as though nothing can shift. Nothing. You're like the bravest human being while you're cracking up inside and you have thousands of emotion going on. But when you got to go, you have this tunnel vision like an army general would do. He would have a tunnel vision. I need to hit this and let me go for that. And I think I am overloaded with that right now. So yeah, there are so many things which have evolved me, and they're very difficult days and they are very challenging sometimes, and you question many times like, hey, I'm doing everything in the world. Why are you, giving me a tennis elbow now? But then that go-getter, the craziness has moved to a very organized craziness. So yeah, it has changed, and I'm happy where I am.
What has this journey asked of you that you never imagined life would be?
So for me, I think the question I was surrounded by, the question says, and your imagination actually is everything what you have learned, right? Or what your family or friends have gone through. And thankfully, everybody had a very healthy journey. So my vision probably took me that, oh, when the kids are going to come, I'm going to go trekking and we're going to go to New Zealand and we do camper van and we're going to do that. And, I'm going to be this carefree mom who's, if the kids don't eat, I'll say, whatever, man, don't eat it at your pace. And I had everything, but as if today I'm not, in a way, I am still the happy soul I was in my imagination, thankfully. But there is nothing of in that way, because everything now I have to be so calculative in my thinking, in my travel, in my even going to a shopping mall, I have to calculate when I'll come back, how, where they're going to eat the food, where's the food, what is the food, to the tea, which I did not ever think that I will be that human. And I am very detailed because I have Zora Zoravar, both came out, on week 26, 5 days, which is like Zora was 820 grams, less than a kg, like, and Zoravar was 925 grams, which is again less than a kg. And it's like literally like this is the child. So what I saw, I think it was very different. And, I'd never imagined that I will not get the chance to hold my child for 4 months. And I had never imagined that I have to produce milk on week 26, 5 days when I didn't even touch my child. Like I am going on C-section, I'm going on emergency, and now everybody's pushing me to produce milk. This Zora Zoraba need 1 ml. And I'm doing it. Everything in the world, what I am going through was nothing anybody around me had gone through. So yeah, it was different.
Yeah. And when Zoravar came, they also had to undergo a lot of surgeries, right? What does that do to a mother? Like, not just practically, but, how did it like impact your core?
Thankfully, not ever seen in my head a surgery as a surgery. For me, it's recovery. I see it like, oh my God, this is going to change the game. We are moving forward. Oh my God. I don't let anybody, even the doctor, talk to me that something crazy is we are going for, and this is difficult and this is challenging. And I don't let anesthesists talk to me in a way, and anesthesists talk. I don't let the doctors tell me those 10 things which they are supposed to tell me before an operation. I'll say, I know, let's go for it. All the best, doctor. Have fun. And this is all, anything when we go for it, this is how I talk to them. And all the nurses outside, I'm like, hey, good morning. How are you doing? And I don't think of an environment of surgery. I'm seeing so much recovery is going to come from this. Like we're going to be like walking, like when we went for our tendons, stitches, when we went for retina. I'm like, my God, my Zora can actually finally be able to process and see me better. Oh, my Zora can read much better. Oh my God, let's go for it. If they need to come in our lives, then they will only for be a reason so we move forward. It's not easy for everybody. I have my moments. Once it is done, child is settled, I'll go on a road alone and I'm going to cry the hell out. I'm going to like try every bit out. If I see a very difficult scan, I will see it with like this bold, brave face, and I will just look for one thing that doctor will say which is positive. And then I'm just going to bounce on that and keep talking to the doctor on one thing he said right, which I feel is right. And I keep at it and I keep visioning that, and that's how I see scans of the medical world for myself. And I'm happy I have that mental space to think like that.
You're very strong. That's all I have to say. And you know that all of us really admire you for showing up in the way you show up. And just to like set context, both of your kids, Zora and Zoravar,
Yes.
Were born with cerebral palsy. I'd like you to just talk a little bit about that, give more context.
So I think they were not born with it. Zoravar didn't cry, so he was incubated. But what happens is when you come before technically time in general, you can have few reasons where you have injury and your brain gets insulted. And the injuries can be from mild to profound, which is from grade 1 to grade 4. So Zora for everything was grade 1 and Zoravar for everything was grade 3. And anything and everything hit Zoravar most, Zora, but it was thankfully in a milder way. But Zoravar did hit hard on most things. On week 2 of their birth, which is technically that they would be like 28th week, they had lack of oxygen. Like the lungs were not strong enough. There's something called PDA and PDA, which wasn't built yet in their body, which did not allow the right oxygenation to go to the brain. And boom, when you don't have the right oxygen, you'll have a hemorrhage. And when you have an hemorrhage, it's an injury. That's it.
Okay.
And that injury, when caused in this form, which is a preterm, is technically lands up into CP. So when the injuries are of 4 levels, from grade 1 to grade 4, so when it is mild, the insult to the brain is of that level. And depending upon where the insult happens, you land up with a motor cortex. So your motor cortex generally gets injured. in CP, which is, there's the brain has cognitive functions and motor functions. So the motor functions get challenged in cerebral palsy, and motor function, which people unfortunately don't understand, but breathing to swallowing to eyelid to doing this to raising your hands. Motor doesn't mean only walking. It goes from as normal as or as regular as a function which we take is breathing. It can be challenging for some child because they got profoundly hurt. And so for Zorawar, he is quad CP, which is all his limbs got. So the cortex where all his limbs are not moving in regular way for now. But over time, with your physio, with your OT, you can increase the functional level for a child. So you can keep doing consistently because there's something called neuroplasticity where the brain cells are learning every day. It's like, imagine like a river.
Yeah.
That's how I vision my Zorawar's brain. So some part, if there's a river flowing and a big stone falls on it, the river will, the other side will start drying up. And at some point, but the river is flowing from there. So some point the water will come, the stone will, start eroding, and there'll be some hole. And the water will start going on the other side. Or the water will come to an extent that it will push itself on the other side. And that's how I'll see my Zora's brain. It's going to take time, but we will get there.
And what does it mean to design a life, a routine, a day around this for both of them?
Our routine is like any mother. All mothers are like army generals managing the day, starting cut, 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 cut. Every child has to get up, go to the school. Only difference which I hold and rest of the ordinary mothers hold, because I think I'm a special mother too. If my kids are special, my nervous system is like them. So the difference between me and most of the mothers would be my scale or my intensity to arrive somewhere just very athletic, very deep. Like everything for me is intense. Getting to point A to point B can be very intense, wherein for a mother can be just a run or a shout to a child and the child will come running. For me, it will be go pick up Zorawar, get him to point A, get him to point B. If his mood is not right because of the sensory challenge, something Zora couldn't handle it, that I have to manage that and reach point B. So I think we have few things which come on our way to reach to points, but it's like motherhood with joy and tantrums and challenges.
Okay. I also like how you phrased the word special mother of special kids. And we usually hear the word normal and, special, but you also use the word ordinary. So I really like that. Can you talk a little bit about this, Priyanka?
When you look at humans, if you're A, then you're B, for example. If you're rich, you're poor. If you are happy, you're sad. If you are special, then you're ordinary. Normal to me is not the right, because I am not abnormal. I am as normal. I'm just special because I had an injury. I also had an injury as a mother when I gave delivery, right? Because I had to go through things which I don't even know what postmortem, postmortal, all those crazy words. Like, I didn't get any massages after that. Like, I was in the NICU room, so I've done things which is not regular for anybody. So I was not an ordinary, life. So if I had a special life, my kids have a special life. So I have nothing abnormal about me. So why would I use normal school? So if you'd say, oh, your son is going to a special school, yeah, your son is going to an ordinary school. That's how I think it's valid to put it that way. And the word normal and abnormal was created when we look at reports, when we look at data, we look at analysis. That's when you look at something and you say, oh, that's abnormal EEG. There's some problem there. There's some erratic movement happening in a scan, or that's how the word abnormality came. Like, say, for example, if somebody has a fever, you won't call ordinary fever. You're going to call it normal fever. And if somebody's having symptoms where he or she reaches up to a seizure, you'll say this is abnormal. But you're not going to say this is special fever. So I feel like we really need to use right vocabulary. And it is normal to say the way people say these days is because they don't have knowledge. They don't have understanding and they are not surrounded because there is this whole world of inclusion. So I think the day we can define it better, all ordinary or special, we live in the same world.
Well said. So, when you look at your children, what do you see? Like, what does Priyanka see that the world often misses?
I'm a mother, so I will see exactly what your sister would see in the kids, or my sister would, or my friends would see. We see joy, we see smile, we see beauty. We say, "Oh my God, you're the most handsome. Oh my God, you're the most beautiful kid in the whole wide world. Zora, you're going to Harvard, dude." Like, just see the way you see any child, your own child. But what people can miss is because they don't have knowledge. Because Zoravar is not communicating in the most communicative way as we all would communicate in general, you would think he doesn't understand. But that is not what it is. He understands more than his age. He's like, all kids of his age, for me, are jack of all trades. They're doing everything, right? Little of everything. But Zoravar is 100% his attention is in listening. He's listening every gossip, every secret, every song, every music. Like, he's all the time listening. So his understanding is like a man. When he would just walk in his stroller for a stroll, people will not know immediately and they may think he doesn't understand and they may talk certain things which are not right to be spoken in front of him. But because they are the ones actually who are dumb and they are the ones who lack knowledge, not my kids. So it's like that is the difference which I think most people hold.
So, what do both the kids love? Like, what brings them completely alive?
Joy, water. They love in the pool. They love music. Zoravar is like an addict for music. Zora is an addict for books.
Oh, wow.
Like,
She reads.
she reads. She reads Harvard Business. She reads all
What?
biggest books.
Oh,
Yeah. You
wow.
give her the book. She may not know the meaning, but she's reading like line by line. And suddenly, if you ask word like analysis, perpetuity, she will cut point it up. Does because I think she reads really fast and she is very good with words. Like she can get the words together. Does she understand the meaning? High probability, no. But can she get the words together better than me?
So, at what point did you realize that the world simply wasn't designed for them?
So I think there are two answers for me. The world is not designed for any human who's not confident. Anybody. So I think the most important thing is confidence. So if you hold confidence as a mother, as a son, as a daughter, as a husband, as a family, as a parent, everything works. Now, but if I come to reality in terms of access, that's one of the reasons I'm still in Singapore because the country is designed for a 1 month baby on a stroller to a 100-year plus human being on a wheelchair. Like you can move around the whole island. You can go to any street, any parking lot, any building because the country is designed like that. And this is one of the thoughts which keeps coming to us that how do we go back to India? Because the access in my country is still not there for people. Yes, we have people who will pick us up and take us to point A to point B, but I can't take like a flight more than 5.5 hours because I don't know where to change the diaper for my son. Zora, I can still take her to the washroom. Zoravar, if he's very potty trained, but he's a child. If it happens, where do I change? He needs to lie down. There's no place. So 5.5 hours manageable. Even business class, I can't, he's a big kid. It's not fair. Just because he's not saying you cannot give him the respect that, you change in public.
They are
So
6, right? They are 6.
they're six,
Yeah.
and 6 is a space you start learning about
Yeah.
your own parts of your body, and it's unfair for me to just open them up in public. And one, it's not nice, right?
Yeah, and changing rooms are made only for babies, not for
And they
grown.
are designed for, they are wheelchair access, but then they are not designed for accessibility to people is wheelchair. But disability is of various forms. And disability is nothing but some form of injury. And a child or a human who's not able to hold his head yet, there is no place which is designed for them that their diaper or they can change. Like If I want to shower my son after a 15-hour flight, even if I plan to travel business class, the spaces or shower room in business classes are not designed that there is a bed or there's a bed which can be pulled down for a shower space. So there are limitations, but the way I see it, I try to find my peace in things. I wouldn't go for something which I can't arrive. So, I mean, that's how you bring peace to yourself. Like flying to US is a very big thought.
So it almost seems like nothing around is really designed for them. The world isn't really working the way it should be working, and it's almost like the world is designed for a very specific kind of person.
I think when, the interior designers, architects around the world, say, for example, today you have to do up your house and you hire an interior designer, an architect. The first thing that human, a girl or a boy, or they're going to ask you is, hey, how are you? Who are you? What do you do? Tell me more about you. What do you like? What you dislike? They will learn about you. And that all learning is knowledge about a personality. And then they will design around your personality, about your access points. Where do you drink? Where do you eat your food? What do you do? It's all knowledge. They create a knowledge hub, and then the answers can come. There is no knowledge hub to an architect or an interior designer. Their knowledge hub is limited to a wheelchair. Certain buildings, let's say in my country, in India, they would be designed now that there is a wheelchair which can go inside. But is the toilets designed for a child who has CP or a child who can't stand yet or can't hold the head yet? How do we change them? How do we help them access things? Or thankfully, knowledge on autism is increasing. So there are certain airports, certain places which are adding the sensory room. They're adding a closed room. They're writing in placards, autism. So people are getting aware because autism as a subject is being spoken about, and certain celebrities have come out to speak about it, which helps commoners to know. If things haven't hit them directly, at least they know that subject. But still, the knowledge hub is missing on what disability is and what are the kinds and needs in general, and what are the buckets we need to see when we design anything.
So what I also hear is that most of the world, like be it like, the parks, the airports, all the public spaces, the infrastructure that is designed for a specific kind of a person which people have in their head. And special kids and special adults, as they grow older and they become special adults, designers who are designing are not really considering them, and because they're not even aware of what the needs are. So that's getting missed. While we've started seeing like sensory rooms for autistic people, there's also some guidelines for visually impaired people. On the streets you'd find some of those markers and stuff, but beyond that there isn't much, and that's simply because there isn't much awareness about it still.
I think awareness and knowledge are two different things. Awareness is information. I can be informed about a subject, or do I know what that means? Did I go through it in my books, in my library? When I was growing up, I didn't have a CP, Down syndrome child in my classroom. Ever. I only met a blind girl who was amazing. She was so powerful. I can still see her, how confidently she held herself when she did her PhD. It's like, imagine when 2020 COVID hit us. In March, by June, if anybody told us he or she had COVID, we thought is equal to death. It was that stark in our lives. Like, if somebody said he has COVID, we will leave that person even if he's your husband or father, like be in the other room. It was that difficult. There was no knowledge. We just had information. But there was no real subject information on what it is, why it is, how will we solve it. And over time, when that information started becoming knowledge, people started building vaccines. When vaccines came, everybody started getting it. When everybody got it, we started easing. And suddenly, you're sitting with a COVID person by the end of 2022 and having a drink and not worried कि मुझको हो जाएगा. अगर मुझे होगा तो जुकाम बुखार ही तो होगा. It's going to be like fever cold. That's what you're going to think. But we never thought he's going to die by 2022. So all I'm saying is that it is not just having information or awareness. It's about really knowing the subject so you can build things and learn things. What I'm going to say is harsh, but that's reality. NICU world is getting stronger. There are so many longevity medical world growing up. Medicines are improving every day, which means either today or tomorrow, in some form, disability is coming to you either through your child, through your grandchild, through your neighbor, through your parents, through your family, through your close friends or your building, but it's coming. NICU world getting stronger means NICU doctors don't care what the child will be. They need to give a live child. They don't care he has CP or no CP. They need to give a child alive to the parent. And that's the tick mark for a NICU. Nobody tells you all these things. What is going to happen to the child? How is he going to survive? How is he going to take care? So, again, this is another podcast altogether, but I'm trying to say is that it's coming. So, if we don't think about it making our knowledge, then you will be me, which I was when Zozos came. I was in a well. Nobody could pull us out. Even though, thank God, I was a positive human being, I don't think so many people are like me.
Yeah, I mean, the world wasn't designed for you. Like, you didn't get the support you needed then, and you had to figure everything out by yourself. And it's still not designed in a way it should be for Zozo, right? And I'd also say, like, to your point that, the longevity of people is also increasing. With that, it also means that there's going to be more disability as you age, because some people also get like fractures, some people get like, it's a
Yeah,
different kind of disability, but a lot of
sure.
things happen. And
Paralysis happen, strokes happen, injuries of different forms can come, right? At any age. So what I'm saying is I'm not saying it out as a, but it's just a like a warning.
yeah.
I'm saying it really as a warning. And I'm not saying it because I'm in it. I'm saying it because I'm in it, learn. You don't need to go through what I went through. Not everybody needs to go through what challenges I'm going through. Just learn from me and be aware so that we build a village for not Zora Zorawar, but all kids and all humans, because everybody is born on the same earth. So there is nothing as inclusion. There is no word like that. We all have knowledge. Then we just live in a society of happiness. A dream society, but it is.
Priyanka, you're also an artist, and has your work changed since your children were born? Does it speak to any of this, even if ever so quietly?
Zora Zorawar are my most precious creative pieces. And they are my creativity in every form. Like they are the ones who will get me any form of cans or whatever is available in the world of awards. Sometimes physical time I get, I'm blessed, but mental time to pick up the brush and just release that energy, I haven't arrived there yet. I hope to soon, but I haven't arrived. The fact that I've arrived to that I can have a talk with you, I take this as a step forward.
Thank you. So, through an artist's eye, like you have an eye of an artist, right? And that's not going anywhere. How do you
Yeah.
see? How do you see Zora and Zorawar? Not medically, not as a case study, but visually.
See, Zorawar is going to do TED Talk. I can see Zorawar standing up there and the whole auditorium is clapping, like it's giving a standing ovation to him. That's what I see. How I'm going to reach there, how Zora is going to go to Harvard, will she be a dean or a professor, or will she just figure her something out? I don't know. But they're going to get there. What other steps will Zorawar land up going to Berkeley School of Music? I don't know yet because he genuinely doesn't like studying. So I think music is his passion. So I'm going to just vision him in Berkeley School of Music. Just because you don't have motor capabilities doesn't take anything away from them. The only pain point comes for me is when I have to make them work hard on things which at their age is not required. When they have to push themselves, pulling 10 kgs of pull-ups. Zorawar has to do 15 kg of pull-ups at his age when he has something called hypertone. The tone is pushing the body up and he has to pull 15 down. It's not just mental gain for him, but physical pain for him. And I still have to hold that fort for him with that, and give that encouragement like a general. So I think those are really painful times and you have to hold this strength upon you which you don't even deserve to hold. Like, what the hell? I just want to be ordinary sometimes. I want my kids to be ordinary sometimes. But what it is a essay. You don't get standing ovation like that, right? You gotta work your ass off.
So, most of the barriers, Priyanka, your children face every day aren't medical, right? Like they were built, designed into, say, the pavements, the classrooms, the interfaces that they use, the systems. Where do you see that the design is failing, or where it shows up most in your daily life?
Like I said, I live in Singapore. When the country is designed for wheelchair. From access perspective, we are very good. The side which I used to go through is people sometimes, like say, for example, taxi. If I have Zorabar with me, I need my nanny. But the strollers they're like the Maseratis of the car, They're expensive and they are big, which means, you need two people help for them to come and help. It's not something which you can take it for granted in a country like Singapore, for example. So to solve that, I learned driving in a country like Singapore, and I'm driving now. So you need to find solutions to where you are missing access. In terms of classroom, there are certain schools which are designed which can cater to kids. So again, it works for me, from that aspect. But thankfully, I'm also a little secure mommy. I first recce my world before I enter with Zora Zoravar. If it is not designed for my Zora Zoravar, like an airline, I'm not taking a US flight because it is not designed for us. Unless I go first class, which me, my husband, two kids, and we need, help along with us, right? So if without them, it is not possible, which means how do you manage financially, right? It's not possible really or feasible because you feel like, yes, I can do it. Can I? Sure, I can. But can I see the money being used better? Yeah, their physio, laser therapy, or I can go for so many more other things which are directly helping them than a travel so far. So I think I'm a person or I wouldn't go to certain destinations or places which are not designed for my Zora Zoravar. Like I'm not open to that place yet.
Any places come to your mind? Like you did mention airlines, but any other places that come to your mind?
Like say for example, the other day we were thinking about going to Mumbai and I said, I really want to go and eat pizzas at Olives. So I'll say, we'll take Zora Zoravar. Then I realize how Olive is designed. The gate only my Zora Zoravar can't enter. The steps, how do I take the stroller inside? Then the cobbles there. It is not designed. The entry is not designed for them. If I park the car, there's going to be traffic jam. So how do I get out? Because when I take them out, it's at least a 10 minutes routine. How do I do it? So you say, okay, forget, Olives. I'll go to La Focote and eat a beautiful pizza at Dempsey Hill. So, you then think of things I can't, I think of things I can. And I just move forward. Like even in this country, even all metros are designed to take strollers. People are taught and the environments are created. They know about disability. Even they may not know why is my daughter behaving so erratic in the lift because she can't handle a sound and she's shouting. But people have awareness. They don't have knowledge, but they have awareness. In this space, tomorrow I change my country. My husband was deciding, okay, we need to move to the next job. I cannot go anywhere. I can't choose any country like that. Like before we had Zora Zoravar, I could just say, oh, let's, the job is nice. Oh, let's go here or let's move here. Let's move here. Now I will say, hey, can I have an environment? How is the, services? How are the schools? How are the facilities? Do people take it easy? How is the temperature? So many things I have to cater to. So, yeah.
So, inclusion has a cost that rarely gets named. What does it cost you financially, physically, emotionally to bridge the gap between the world as it is and the world that the children need?
It's financially very draining on the parents. It's really draining on the parents because, you live in the world of hope all the time. And we are the most vulnerable human beings. If somebody comes and says, hey, wear this or do this, this is a new suit which holds the body better, this doesn't help the hip flex, hip to sublux, anything and everything is in thousands of dollars. Like my son's cycle, for example, just a Rifton cycle, which is an adaptive cycle, which allows his body to be held well, will cost you around $8,000-9,000 depending upon, where the dollar is. But like the strollers which they sit in, they are wonderful, very good brand strollers. But to get a good posture so that their body structure doesn't get warped while the tone is high, you got to invest in them, right? And each investment is nothing less than like $8,000, $10,000. Like I'm like literally buying LV bags every day. It's like that. It's like I have a very high life because I'm literally spending like that. Even though I wouldn't want to spend where but that is the reality as of now. And it is very, very, very challenging. You do for one, it's very impossible not to do for the other unless you channelize your mind to say, no, we are trying on this, then we'll do on this. So you feel like horrible if you do on one and if you don't do on the other, because one is little forward than the other doesn't mean. So there's always a sense of guilt I walk with. But I know as parents, we are doing our best, but this world is really specially priced. From any therapy in this country or few other European countries or US, they range from $200 to $350. And now if you go for two therapies from feeding or PT, OT, schools, a lot of parents crib about international school fees. They don't know what a special needs school fee is per month. When they hit that, they will say, oh, because the teachers to kid ratio reduces for us, right? So obviously the cost increases. But thankfully, a country like India, where the education is better and things like that, there the cost of therapy is way lesser. I mean, that is one of the reasons which tells me to go back to my country, because one, I've learned so much here that I can actually build something of all my learning and all the things which are pretty much, there's a lot missing. And everything which actually comes in this world of special needs is because some parent decided I will take that step. It's pretty much most of the things here. Very rarely, you'll seldom find somebody who just did that out of a business
Because
idea.
parents are closer to the ground reality,
And also, they are the ones with the knowledge. They are the ones who hold the knowledge. The knowledge maximum goes to the family, but it doesn't go to the neighbors and building at large, right? Most of the time. And when it doesn't affect you, it's like, there's so much war going on in so many parts of the world. Because it doesn't directly affect where you're sitting, we are still smiling and hanging out and we don't discuss it. But house where the fire went in, they are hurt. And then they may land up doing something to protect because they genuinely went through something. So I feel like most parents land up doing so. Emotionally, of course, there's a sense of guilt when you're unable to perform or unable to finance it for a child. There's a sense of emotional pain, physical pain, because sometimes you don't get the best stroller. Even if you get the best stroller, you have to carry the child from point A to point B, depending upon where the strength of the child holds. So there is a sense of guilt and pain, but you got to figure it out. Yeah, I know most parents, whoever's watching me, they're doing really their best. They're really doing their best. Every father or mother will do their best for the child. Now, if you got an injury, if your child gets a fever, you are going to wake up the whole night and help her through. So when sometimes it's little off question, but when parents sometimes say, I don't relate with it, I think you can relate with it. Just for a second, shut your eyes and see your child in a very difficult position. You will crumple. You won't be able to sometimes imagine only that far. But for a second, if you imagine even as severe as, fever and cold and cough, how parents crumble. So you can relate with it. So don't say to a special need mother, oh my God, you work so hard. You're so strong. I can't relate with you. Fuck you. Of course you can. And you will do better than me if you're in my position. So don't make another mother feel like she's like a superwoman. She's working hard, and respect them for the work, but don't exclude them from normalcy of life.
there's a question that I keep coming back to. Is the problem really accessibility, or is it that we simply lack the imagination to picture a world designed for everyone?
I think there's a third point to that. I think what people don't know, they don't know. How can you imagine? There's always one Einstein, right, who was wild in his thinking. But then only one, right? But rest of them were ordinary folks. So I would say everybody's so ordinary, right? Their life, their thinking, their imagination is limited, and how many people are creative in this world? So I feel like it is not the imagination which lacks. It is not the first part. I think it is that when you have not lived it, You don't have to live a life to live. You don't have to have a CP child to understand what it goes through. If you haven't read a book or even watched a movie, and even if you haven't reached that empathy stage of some level of knowledge, then I feel like kindness comes, actions comes, planning comes. All of that is a build up to first knowledge. First, you need to have a build up. Like, you can't go to the mountain unless you take certain steps. So I think you need to first know which mountain you're climbing, why are you climbing, be aware of that information. Once you have it, then I think we can build the steps, and then you start finding way in the most uncrooked way also, right? You find a path. So I think we all can find access, we all can build access. Like, forget about a wheelchair person. Even certain places like in Delhi, for example, my husband just went in the AI conference. So he took a metro to come from one end of the Delhi to the Gurgaon. But when he got out of, he didn't know how to cross the road also because there was no traffic signal to cross. So access is not there for a person who has two legs and a hand and a brain to think. So I think it is more to do with the fact that if you decide something, if you have knowledge, access will come. If you have knowledge, empathy will come. If you have knowledge, kindness will come. And if you have knowledge, we will throw the word inclusion, and we all will be living in a society which feels safe for everybody, and also a society where, God forbid, somebody I know suddenly goes through that journey, or somebody I don't know goes through that journey. In whatever level, he or she is not in like a well suddenly. Village is built. So yeah, it's one step at a time, but the first step is somebody getting up and creating a rule book, like how the government of Singapore has done. They created a rule book, made sure it's being told in schools, it's being spoken about it, creating classrooms where a CP child can also go with a shadow teacher. And one thing, one of the teachers, one of the principal where Zora used to go to the school, she said something so beautiful, and it really helped me shape my confidence. She doesn't know she has added so many levels of confidence. But she said, Miss Margaret said something. She says, I said, thank you so much for having Zora in the preschool. It really helps me that she can learn. And I'm thankful to all the parents that, Zora is part of the... She says, Priyanka, why are you thanking so much? While Zora is going to learn, she will learn like any other child. But what those kids will learn, they will not get to learn outside this classroom. They will learn kindness. They will learn empathy. They will learn how to hold a hand and walk with someone. They will learn to partner someone. So stop thanking me. I'm glad you opened your heart and you finally came to this door. I've been waiting when you will come. And that just changed my mindset towards everything. Before that, I was such a scared mother. Like, I was scared. I mean, obviously, what I've gone through, I was a scared human. But she lifted me up very differently. And from then, there's no going back.
That is amazing. It's very beautiful, like how someone can really impact another person, but also like she already had that maturity in her thinking.
She was a NICU nurse for 25 years before she opened this. So, everybody has a heart. So her heart is in the right place, and somewhere she probably, connected. And all I can say is, I find God in human. I always find, I'm blessed with beautiful people. They just come in front of me and take me. I'm actually ready. The person is in front of me. So I have to, many times, it's me who has to get ready. My kids are born ready. That's the reason they came week 26, 5. Like, they said, get out. We are ready. They were just too impatient. They were too impatient and immature about the decision. But they were ready for the consequence. They were ready. They said, Mama is not ready. I think we need to get out of the tummy.
Designers, leaders, policymakers, they talk about inclusion constantly. There are a lot of frameworks, guidelines, checklists. What do they still fundamentally not understand? Not about disability.
Lived experience. You need to go to a school and spend a day there. You need to live with the child. You need to understand what it means. And it's not that difficult. You just walk into your building and find one member. If you really look for it, you'll always find, It's about looking. The day you decide to see something, you will see it. But you've got to decide. If you tell me today, oh, let's design a NASA room, for moon. I've only seen what I've seen. I'll design with silver paper, tin foil. But what it really goes, I have to go to a NASA and I have to live that to create one for somebody.
It's almost like nothing about us should be designed without us, and you have to have people in the same room, like the designer and the one who's being designed for. They have to be in the same room. They have to understand what needs to be designed and who is it meant for, and it'll only happen once.
Just like consumer insight, you were an advertising professional. I mean, if you create a product without a consumer insight, and we're really talking to the consumers, the reason most brands work, or the ones who didn't work, as the ones who didn't talk to the customers. They don't know where the flaw is. And some of them who actually spoke to the customers and found that pain point, they designed their product around that. If they didn't need to design the product was as simple as a Colgate, but they spoke about, smile, or they spoke about something which people were looking for, and they added in their insight and they made that brand proposition and they advertised on that line, and suddenly everybody connected with the brand. Boom, it's the highest selling brand. So I think it's in everything. That's what I'm saying. Knowledge is king when it comes to design. You can only design as much as you know. So if you don't, and when you talk about life, say product is something else. You have to live that life. You don't really have to kill yourself or, have some injection, have paralysis to live that life. You can just be with someone for, a couple of hours, for a few days in a month, and really live it. And then when you can start seeing those gaps and say, I need this in my design element. This set of group or this set of injury can benefit from it. And I think that works in medical industry, in everything, right? Everything. So why not in designing?
So research, understanding human behavior, and then starting anything. So that's really the
You
brief.
really need to know the needs now. You can orally say big words like, oh, sensory play, sound should be less, it should be accessible for wheelchair. 4 other things you can. These are broad benchmark. Where it should be. Where should be the accessible place? Why would a child go all the way inside for a sensory room? Like what he has to pass through to go to a sensory room. And why this dungeon type of a room with 2 things and 1 wobbly thing kept there? What about the other kids? Because some kids have saliva coming out. How do you manage the hygiene aspect in a sensory room? I don't get it. I will never take Zora Zoravar to, not never, but I would not take Zora Zoravar to a sensory room because I think it's super unhygienic, dude. Nobody's cleaning that. Really. Like, who's spraying those things? And these kids have, sometimes they don't have control in the saliva or they don't have control with the nose and they're touching here and there. So I do feel like if you understand that this saliva aspect is this hygiene aspect this mother feels, then you will think, how do I create something which gets wiped after one, or you put that mechanics in play. You will create some rule books for those rooms. You will create where the room should be in the whole design setup, not last room of the end. How will the child run all the way when he's already exhausted? So I think those are the conversations at some point we need to have.
Has anything like a space or a product or a system ever genuinely surprised you? Something that felt like it was actually built with your children in mind?
There's so many, there are just so many, because at the end of the day, there's a lot of research happening on this world. There are a lot of parents who've personally gone through them. They're doing big work. So there are a lot of things which is happening in the blind space. There's a lot of things which are coming in the CVI space, posture space, walking, robotics. Like, there are amazing things coming. And you're better today than you yesterday.
So there is work happening in the space and therefore more things are available now.
Say, for example, let's say paracetamol. There's so many people who have fever in the world. Just so many ordinary people end up having fever. So you're just having paracetamol. I think thousands of paracetamol goes daily in 1 hour's time, People must be popping around the world, right? So the cost of paracetamol has gone down because the production has increased. It's like that. But here, because the research team is limited, the cost to produce the product increases. And it's a vicious cycle now because it is not everybody can afford a McLaren, stroller. Like that level of stroller, $10,000 stroller, how many parents can afford? It's really not easy. So obviously then limited people will buy. So research cannot grow bigger. It's like a vicious cycle, right? So the cycle gets broken at some point when world will realize, bigger pharma, bigger companies will realize that, dude, it's a big chunk of business. Let's do it. When Nike will realize, when Adidas will realize that, the shoes which Zora Zoravar, the AFO they wear, to wear an AFO, which is a shoe, they need another pair of shoe to keep the AFO inside. Now that shoe cannot be an Adidas shoe or a $50, $100 shoe. There are 2 or 3 players in the world who are making that shoe. And that shoe is, let's say, getting produced in US. If the shoe is $250, to get it here is $250. I pay $500 for a pair. Suddenly growth spurt happens. Boom, another shoe. So it's not easy, right, to get it. And they can't produce because they're not Adidas, that their scale is higher. So their cost will always be more. So it's somewhere like that.
I think it'll be good if brands also start like designing, say for example, shoes in this case, in a way that, of course, they won't do that because this is the business model that they thrive on and that's how revenue and growth happens. But what if like there was flexibility around the size and with the size of the shoe would grow along with the child's feet? I mean, that'll be the best kind of shoe, especially if you're paying so much in this case, right?
And I would say, even if, like, let's say, technically, I cannot go to Adidas and shop for my Zora Zoravar, right? Or I can't go to a Nike and shop for my Zora Zoravar because the shoe they want. So if they understand what athleticism Zora Zoravar goes through, because for them, disability is a loss of a leg or a hand, and then they have the stories around them. But reality of disability for a child like Zora Zoravar, they are gymming from, they are going to a gym from almost after they came back from NICU. It's from pretty much like 5 months old. Or at NICU they were doing physio, but after they left NICU, they were in a gym. They have small dumbbells, they have barbells, they have all the equipments in my house, the ball, the peanut balls, and all type of yoga stuff, mats, this, that. So they are doing all those stretches and exercises. For me, they are true athletes, because for them there was never an after. For lots of brands, athletes have disability story, right? But that is just like they were able and then suddenly they got hurt and now they can't, and they work very hard and now they can again. That's Nike's story, or that's Adidas, or that's Reebok story. What about kids who are working day and night and pulling, pushing, pulling ups they are doing? So I think there's a lot of recognition there which needs to be given, and a respect to parents needs to be given, because I feel like I'm pretty much like an athlete's mom. I may not be running for a gold medal, but I'm running so that Zorawat is training to walk better, breathe better, eat better. I'm training every day, my kids. I don't go for any therapy now. I don't use the word therapy. They're going to the gym, they're going to train for feeding now. They're going to train. So they're training to be better of themselves. And that is what athletes do. They train themselves to be better than them. So, and if we all start taking these, you bring sense of pride, not, it just changes that you don't feel ill or problem right now. You don't see this as a problem anymore. You just see it as like, I'm going to train to do better. Like a mother can just go to another mother with pride and say, hey, so where are you going? I'm going to physiotherapy for my child. Oh, I'm just going to go train my child for walking. Suddenly there's pride, there's sense of belief, there's sense of hope, there's sense of everything. And the other one also is not like, oh, now what? It's not easy, while I may say so much, but it's not easy for the other one also to interact with me. While I say all of this, it's not easy for the other one, because they don't know if they can hurt me in something or if they can make me feel, because they all are sensible people. So I think it is my role also to make life easy for the person so they can talk to me with ease.
You're taking too much on yourself.
But that helps us create an environment which makes a village. I need to train people. If they are not able to talk to me, they will not come closer to Zora Zoravar. For them to come closer to Zora, I need to give that ease to them, that they can talk to me and see me as an equal, not in a pedestrian that they can't talk to her. She's so wow. Just act like a mother and make things joyful and easy. Then they come to you. Then they can talk to you, they can interact with your kids, and suddenly you build in a condo, you build an environment where others are saying morning to your kids and saying hello to your kids also. Not staring at them and looking at them, but they are talking to them, easing with them, probably laughing tomorrow with them, hanging out with them. I'm going for my runs and they are chilling in their house with their kids. So I want to arrive there. To arrive there, I need to help others also to help me. And I think that we forget as special needs. We think like everybody has to be nice to us. No, you need to have that face for people to be nice to you. You need to have that confidence and that strength for people to walk to you. It's not easy for others. It's you got to work together. It's not just people won't design things until I talk. And sometimes you need to knock at their door and say, "Hey, I'm a mother. I know you guys are designing this, and these are my like." It's okay
Yeah.
for you to go and tell them if your time allows you to. If the other door is not opening doesn't mean you can't bounce the ball. Yeah, it's okay. You will be the better person in the world. You'll have better karmas. Just take it like that.
Priyanka, media also tells us two stories about disability: tragedy or inspiration. The child who overcomes, the parent who sacrifices. What stories are never told? The one you actually live.
Joy. Just the pure joy of motherhood or a parenthood. Just laughing with the kids, giggling with the kids, having fun with them, going out with them, going swimming with them, whatever little activities. My activity is swimming because that brings joy to them. It can be something for somebody. But just like the other day, I picked up this magazine. It's been 2 years back. I picked up this magazine called Expat Living. And there was not a single page in that magazine which I resonated with because my son was getting a VP shunt and I was with the neurosurgeon. So I was waiting for the surgeon to call me in. And I thought, oh, let me look at the book. I've just moved to Singapore now. Let's see what's fun for kids. And it was a kids section. And not a single page I read mother's stories. And then I'm like, some schools, they're talking about everything, but there was nothing which I connected with in that book. There was no conversation about, there were these mothers' conversation. You could have just had a conversation like this summer, my son trained himself to eat guava. First time in his life he had a gummy bear. Oh my God, it was such a good feeling. A mother of an autistic child. Just such a simple joy.
Yeah.
But you bring it in a conversation where everybody is. Don't create a disability section in a separate room. If I don't have that condition, I'm not going to walk there.
Yeah.
I'm not going to call for problem, right? No human wants to call. So which means no human is going to learn. Why we all know about COVID? Because COVID came in the main paper. It came in every section, every topic, in from Financial Times to foreign policies. COVID came in those sections. So you got to bring the topic in ways. If you're talking about technology, talk about an arm which is getting made, or there is this new app which is coming where it can read a mind, and if a child is not verbal, he or she can switch on a mixie, a computer, play games with his or her mind. I'm working with that for Zorawar right now, but I'm saying is this. But you talk about it in technology paper, not in disability paper. If you want to talk about robotics, talk in like a robotic section where you're talking about China building 500 robot. One of the other things China built is a walking thing, Trexo, being built by an Indian in Canada. You got to bring the topics to the people.
To the main stage.
Yeah.
Correct.
And in as though it normalize it as though it's part of a conversation. Don't bring it, okay, now we have a section, we're going to discuss speech. And then people who don't have speech issues, they walk out because
Correct.
It's not a topic for them. If it is a part of a flow and it is not a speech, it is about discussion on people, then speech is one of a topic. Within that topic, nobody is leaving the room. So you don't bifurcate information. You keep it and make information short so people have hearing capability. They listen. You move to a topic which they are part of. Storytelling, right? It's like engaging a movie. We'll arrive. People will arrive there at some point.
Well, that's the hope.
That is where it will be. I know.
Most people who sometimes probably also happen to stare at them, they aren't doing it intentionally, they aren't bad people, but they've just been handed a very narrow picture of what human beings are supposed to look like. What would you want them to understand? Not what to do, but how to see differently.
I think there are two types of disability. One is visible and one is not visible. So with the Zora, it's 100% non-visible. So when Zora is sitting on a stroller or she's on an adaptive bicycles, if people are staring, they're staring, I think, for two clear reasons. One, why is this pretty girl on this? What is this cool bicycle? What is this cycle? Why don't have I seen it? It's really, it's like, it's fluorescent, it's big, it's again like BMWs of cycles, you know. You're gonna look at a Lamborghini when it passes. Everybody loves it. You will look right now. So I don't see it as a challenge. And people are curious because they are not able to understand why this pretty girl is sitting there. She must be like throwing a tantrum or whatever. That is very regular way to for people to look at something. But like say for example Zorawar, he is a very handsome kid, but sometimes when he is not, because he has something called CVI. In short, to explain, CVI is your optics are good, optical. It's the processing where the insult happened. So there's something called visual fatigue comes, where you can look, but you have no capability to look for long. The muscles can't process so much information, so they can look somewhere, so they can look upward. So now people will wonder, why is this kid looking up? So they can stare at him. Why is he looking upward? Why is eyes going upward? But they don't know, even ophthalmologists don't know today what is CVI. Let me tell you, you know that. It's so sad. But all I'm trying to say is that you just make your brain aware that they're just being curious and it's okay. And sometimes I do my thing. I stare at them and I stare at them and I stare at them until they're super awkward and they stare at me. Then why is she staring at me? And then I still keep staring at them for them to realize that they did something really, really awkward and they made my son feel awkward. Just because he can't say it, he can't stare back at you. I'm the guardian angel. I'm going to do that for him until he's ready to do it. So all I'm saying is that it's again going back to knowledge, is going back to building that knowledge hub, you know, that information. Then over time, this just becomes like one of the rivers which flow next to you and you don't stare at it for too long. The curiosity gone now because, you know why.
Priyanka, what are some small things, like genuinely small things, that ordinary people can do differently starting tomorrow?
If whoever's heard this and who believe that, yeah, knowledge is important, I think you should just look around you and find one family who is going through any level of it, can be severe, mild, wherever the level is find the child and find what he's going through and read about that. And then every time you look at the child, you will understand what you're reading on that subject is true. And then you will build your knowledge. And over time, when your knowledge is so strong, or you feel you know enough, saying a hello to that parent, not out of medical ways, but just talking about spots which can make that, without telling them that you found a spot for them. Hey, I went to this place. It was such a nice sensory overload. I loved it. I'm sure Abhya, whatever the kid's name is, will love it too. And you over time build that relationship and you would, without really joining an NGO or doing something and giving, you would become like a cheerleader, a neighbor, who can be trusted. As simple as that. Like, you don't really need to go to any school or anything and live a life. Just look around you, and the day you decide to look, you will find. But you really have to decide, okay, I want to look and I want to guide myself on the subject, and subject will come forward and you will learn and it'll be easy. I think that's the most easiest thing to do.
Okay, so this is very important. I actually would want to learn this as well. What do your children teach you about being human that the rest of us moving through a world built for us might be too comfortable to learn?
There are few things they teach, and they taught me as well. I think the first most important is communication doesn't limit joy. You don't need to be verbal to say I'm joyful. You just have joy. You just laugh. You just giggle together. You cuddle together. The other very important thing I learned is patience and love are interlinked. Like, you hold patient because you love someone so deeply and you want to do everything in the world to help them move forward. And I had no idea that I can ever have so much patience in the world of special need parenting and parents. It's wild. Yeah, and I'm not alone. I think there are just so many wonderful parents out there who are working hard and are doing amazing, amazing, amazing. It's just that few of us can show it on their face better than the other, but that doesn't make it less for the other one. At the end of the day, you think about just yourself. If you're surrounded with love and people caring for you, boosting you, always telling you you're doing great, you're doing amazing. If you're not doing well, guiding you and pushing you to do well. And that's exactly what you want your life to be, right? And you progress in such a world. So when you get stuck with the problems, when you start thinking that I don't have this, I don't have that, I don't have this, joy can never come forward. So when you start seeing what you have, then what you don't have in everything, this philosophy doesn't hold only true in my world, it holds true in general.
Yeah.
But in my world, I learned it. It became more profound and it became more visible to me that you really have to work towards seeing every minute what is working for you than what is not working for you. Even like right now, if Zoravar is crying outside because he is being pushed to go on a stander, I have to see he's getting a chance to go on a stander. You know, many kids don't. So I think you've got to really, really work hard. It's not easy. It's not easy, but if you keep doing that and keep finding that one thing which worked, I think that is what Zora Zoravar teach me every day.
We've spent so much time of this conversation talking about adapting people to the world. But the real question is how we redesign the world itself, right? A world where everyone kind of is kind, understands, holds space for others, and it stems from knowing what is really needed to be done, not like trying to understand or pretending to understand on all of those things, but it's really like you were saying, have the knowledge and then everything else will follow.
I think, when we go to this side of the world where we say, let's redesign, it sounds hard work and it sounds like a change. And when you try to bring change, nobody likes because people have habits. So I don't think we can change habits. But when you start incorporating things in the system, so let's say a very, not a A to A example, but if you go to certain European countries, let's say Sweden or Norway, in general, people, when they're walking down pro lane and you're walking up the lane, 100%, if not 100%, 90% probabilities that there will be a good morning exchange. Probability is very high that, there's going to be a nod of the head or there's going to be a smile exchange. But in certain countries, you wouldn't ever find it. So it also comes down to from when are they learning that subject. So if from tomorrow morning, if we had the chance to, if it got incorporated in the school of all children, it became a part of them. The kids, it was inclusive classrooms where every child, it becomes a rule that you will have a CP child, you will have this, you will have that, you will have XYZ. It becomes part of the rule because you got to create rules for people to change habits. So if you create it and if the administrator, without really redesigning anything, but adding within the path. So the kids who are just growing up, they start seeing it on daily basis. For them, it's nothing new. You're not changing anything. You're just building it. You're training them from that moment that we all live together. I went to a mall and there was this mother. So Zoravar was with us and Vaibhav met his ex-colleague and the wife was there and the daughter was probably a year younger to Zoravar, and she pointed at Zoravar's stroller and she says, why is he on this chair? Why is he sitting? And the mother said, he has a very special chair and he needs that chair to sit right now because he's learning to hold himself better. Something on that line she went. She didn't speak so much, but she said something about special chair. That kid immediately stopped looking and curiosity ended. And it became like, okay, whatever. Sure. As simple as that. But most parents, when Zoravar's stroller is going, I'm taking Zoravar's name, Zora's stroller is going, most parents, they want to help me by removing the path, removing the chit from the path. But sometimes they're actually adding fear to the child. Oh, move, 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 move. Like, oh, something is coming. When you give a smile to that stroller, the child knows this is safe person and safe stroller. Now the child is still looking at us. Nobody has helped her. She'll go home with a thought never answered. And I would say most parents do that around me. most parents. Some of the European parents will smile. I would say European because I see that because their accessibility is spoken a lot in their school
Yeah.
versus in many Asian countries. So I see that exchange of smile between the parents, between me and the parent. Sometimes not with the child. They'll say, hey, be on the side. That's a heavy one. But they may not explain that, but they didn't make it difficult also. So I think some kind of a conversation without rushing away. The parents are doing the right thing because they want to give space to me, which is nice. But how you give space also matters. So I think small in cooperation, they don't need big hard work because when you talk redesign, then you're talking very difficult infrastructure topic and they're not in our control yet. But what is in our control is behavior, patterns, ease, walking through the habits of people, making it easier, conversational, training the small child. So by the time the child is 3, 4, 5 and can understand a walker, you'll say, Mama, my friend is coming in a walker. He or she knows that the child needs a walker. It's not I learn when my child needs a walker that what is a walker. It's not a big deal. It's like crossing road. Now we know what is a signal. But the time they build the signal, it must be, what a confusion, how many accidents would have happened, right? It's something as simple. There was a design, timing, thinking done that there must be a stop sign, this sign, debate happened, somebody built that design element, came on the road, got implemented around the world. But today for us, it's in our school
Intuitive
books.
now. Yeah.
And it's come from school books, right?
Correct.
It came, that signal is for this, stops, so same thing in education.
Yeah, so if there's one belief about disability that you wish society would unlearn, what would it be?
That disability does not mean ability not to walk. Like most things are designed around people who cannot walk, but disability has many forms and it can come to anyone at any age, and it is just another form of injury or a condition which gets built up. And it's not scary, it is challenging, it is difficult when you have to maneuver yourself through that. But if you have the knowledge about various forms of disability, and if something comes in front of you in your own life, you are so much more prepared and you are not so much scared for yourself or your family, because the world is now getting prepared. If that, the whole conversation about knowledge comes in, the world is getting prepared to handle all forms of disabilities.
When you imagine the world your children will grow up in, what gives you hope?
Confidence. I'm confident my kids are doing well and they will continue to do well because we are surrounded by love, we are surrounded by family, we're surrounded by happiness, we're surrounded by joy. I mean, so many people have all 4 legs, limbs, hands, eyes, and they are the most depressed humans in the world. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to define what success is for you and what success is for your child. And if joy is your ultimate metrics, rest all will follow for us.
So you are doing that. So what I hear is you're taking the onus on yourself here, right? And you're creating that environment, and people around you are like that. So that's clearly understood. But what I'm also trying to understand is that the world around us is unpredictable, right? Like, it's also, there are people who still don't have that knowledge that you've been talking about, right? But there's also good people, there's also kind people. So from an external point of view, when you look at the world that they are growing up in, what really gives you that satisfaction, or that, okay, things are going to be okay for them,
See, there's always this question is for all parents, but this makes it a much difficult question for a special need parent, that what happens after them. So that question lingers in life of most parents and they're still struggling to figure out, and some haven't and some have. But the reality is, there's a book I read, like I said, Power. You are in control of yourself. You create your universe. You create your world. If you tell yourself, I'm going to see this, I'm going to be confident, my kids are going to be confident. I'm telling you that exactly happens. When I arrived, the day I told myself I'm ready for India travel, I arrived from the airport to the time we got operation, we came home, everybody was helpful. Not a single human except one taxi driver. Probably his day was horrible. He probably had a horrible start. Doesn't mean he was a bad person. But everybody helped me through that because they saw me and they saw this sense of achievement this mother's holding, this smile she's holding, and then Zorawar walks in, and then Zora walks in, and they can't understand why is this lady smiling and how is she smiling. And when you are like that, you change mindset of people around you, and they come running to help you because they want to help you. See, there are only two ways you get help. One, who are achievers. Everybody wants to work with them. Or people who can't do anything, then yeah, thoda iske help kar do. He's such pity. But achievers get it, man. Everybody wants to work with the achiever. So we are that family. Everybody wants to help us. There are days when you can feel something else, and that's okay. You can cry it out and release that emotion and come back to your reality, or a reality you want to believe to be in. And it works. It did work in India. Both my India trips were so wonderful. So wonderful. There were people running, they were opening doors for me. Like, I went 30 days to Narayana for a vision therapy. From the ground staff till the security, till that door, cut, people took us. I didn't do anything, but what I did is I smiled at them, I respected them, I said, how are you doing? Kaise ho aap? This is, how are you? And then I would talk to everybody. And when I left, I got a box of chocolate. I gave everybody and I said, thank you for helping Zorawar Zora. And they will remember Zorawar Zora. I hope I don't have to go to the therapy center again for anything, but I know for the fact that they already have a soft. So I already created a village. If I'm not walking along with them and Zora is going or Zorawar will, they'll say, Zora came. They will relate. So you create your world. If I walk, the same mother walks with this fear, everybody will still may know me or this mother with twins come, but then they will have all the time when I will pass, they'll say, hi, so sad. But now they walk, yeah, ma'am, you are so amazing. Yeah, wow, yeah, I really look up to you. And suddenly you're just vibrating on another energy, and you are actually giving them smile because you are vibrating in this energy. Actually, you are helping them. And when you vibrate with that energy, everybody walks with you. Nobody will not walk with you. It's like, that's how I think people who lead walk, and I want to be that person. I want to be that for my Zora until they will lead me. But they do lead my mental. That's the reason I'm here. So they do. They are the ones actually who've conquered and made sure that we can be this confident.
That is just very beautiful to hear. Thank you. I don't have too much to say, but I think I have learned a lot more than I knew.
Thank you, Payal. Thank you
Thank
for
you so much.
taking our time to having discussion around this topic. And I think, as a friend, and as somebody who enjoys design, I think this topic matters. And I'm glad we spoke. Even it was a distant conversation. I'm glad we started it.
This is an important conversation, and that's why I wanted to have it in the first place, because I want more and more people to understand what truly in the word inclusion or accessibility really means, and how they need to see things differently from the person's perspective that they're designing for. Like, thinking about all of this is one thing when you're sitting in an office or setup and you're looking at your screens and you're creating stuff, but you're not talking to people and you're not understanding their lived experience. But when you do that, and hopefully when they hear this conversation that we've had, and they'll take away something more from what they already know or don't know, and I think definitely that'll help. So that's the intention of this podcast, Design Etc. also.
Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you so much for being here with us. Really appreciate it, and I've taken a lot of your time away from Zozo.
It's fine. They're managing themselves very well. I didn't hear a shout, so it's fine.
Okay. So thank you to them as well for me.
I will. Thank you.